Sports City, Sports City Chefs, Chefs, Sports City Chefs, Chefs. Yeah. Cabby, Taj.
Yes. We are back with a new edition of the Finger Foods exclusively on the Sports City Chef YouTube channel. I am your villain. I am here to talk all things New York Giants football. Like I always say, please hit the like button, subscribe, share on the YouTube channel. You get more great content from the chefs. We do shows all week. The Sunday morning brunch with TP Timeless and Michael Harvey. The NFL Free For All with Sirius and myself and some other co-hosts that drop by. And the Callers Cookout, the villain, and TP Timeless, Good versus Evil, where good always wins. We got so many things cooking, but hey, it's week 1 in the books, and the Giants put a victory on the board. I feel like that Nina Simone song, Birds Flying High, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Feeling good as a Giant fan, getting the victory in Brian Daboll's debut, his first victory out of the way. What a gutsy win in Tennessee to get the victory against a very good Tennessee Titans team. But listen, it was a great victory. Lot to discuss. But first off, I gotta say, what a gutsy move by Brian Daboll to go for 2 points after scoring that potentially game-tying touchdown late in the ball game. It just showed. It's just such a stark contrast to what we saw last season in New York, where I'll say his name, Joe Judge, former head coach, showed he had really no confidence in his team by kneeling down on or QB sneaking. On third down. And that debacle to end his season and his Giants coaching career. To go from that to go to a coach that puts his faith in his players and believes in them and pushes them to victory is just a big turn of events. And you know what? The Giants did a little bit more of the same with mistakes, turnovers, especially from Daniel Jones, which we'll get into. But, still having the confidence to say we're going for it just showed, it's just a new era. It's a new culture that he's building, and I'm here for it. If you didn't know, after the game or during the game, Saquon Barkley is back. Saquon Barkley had a monster game, over 160 yards rushing, so he finished with 164, a touchdown, added 6 catches for 30 yards. He looked strong, he looked fast, he looked decisive in his cuts. He was making cuts that he wasn't making last year. They always say, after a big injury like a knee injury like that, a torn ACL, the second year is when you're back, and you can tell, he was back. Healthy and confident in his body, so good to see him really kind of get in there, and the play that really exemplified or stamped the fact to me that he was back was the 2-point conversion on the shovel pass, because he was dead to rights, 2 defenders in his face. He had no business making that play. Last year he would not have made that play, made that cut and got into the end zone, but this year he made those 2 guys miss, got into the end zone, and that's a play, like I said last night, that a normal running back doesn't make, but an elite running back makes look easy, and he made it look easy, and it just showed that he's back, he's confident, and this is a contract year pretty much for him, and if he plays like that, the Giants have no choice but to bring him back. Looking at Daniel Jones' performance, it was up and down, and I think that performance yesterday was Sunday, was a microcosm of his seasons in Big Blue, where he shows flashes of brilliance. Like in the second half, he played pretty well outside of the interception, but led them down the field to get the touchdown. Great play calling by Brian Daboll, by the way, setting up that rollout, that touchdown pass to Mayock in the corner, basically setting up that with the play action, running those plays with the receiver in motion to block inside and then setting that up to get the touchdown. Listen, but he didn't. Daniel Jones didn't play terrible. He was 17 of 20, 21 for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw an interception, had that strip fumble. So it's like his play wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was average, and I think that's what you're going to get a lot of from Daniel Jones is a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, and hopefully we can weather that to win a close game. And if that's what we are accustomed to, and that's what we're going to get from Daniel Jones, I'd rather know that now. So listen, the jury's still out on him. The Giants didn't pick up his 5th-year option, which wasn't surprising. I advised in a couple articles on SportCityChefs.com that they shouldn't pick up his option. So listen, he needs to be more consistent. He needs to take care of the football. We can't have more of the same with him not taking care of the football. Now that sack, was it his fault? He's the one that fumbled it, but the line breakdown, which we'll get into, didn't help him. But he's got to take care of the football. We need him to make plays, and we need him to be the quarterback that we need him to be, or we're expecting him to be after his first season. Or we got a quarterback in tow that can do it. I have no problem giving Tyrod Taylor the ball and letting him go forth and be the guy for this team. The Giants' offensive line, like Daniel Jones, was up and down. I felt like Andrew Thomas played he is the cornerstone of that offensive line. He's rock solid. He played a very good game. Evan Neal, I thought first game jitters a little bit. According to some early stats that had came out like a day after the game, he let up 1 quarterback pressure on about 30 some odd plays. But you could see he, not missed blocks, but didn't hold blocks very well. I think some of the schemes on defensive line kind of and the speed kind of overwhelmed him a little bit. But he settled in. He played pretty well. So the 2 tackles for the most part I felt played pretty well. It's the interior line that was really a problem. Simmons for the Tennessee Titans was all over the quarterback and in the backfield getting pressure. I think once the Giants really kind of ran the ball and ran right at that pressure is when that kind of settled down. They had to respect the running game a little bit, especially in the second half when Barkley was reeling off long runs. So from a run game perspective, the line got on their blocks and were pretty effective. But the strip sack, like I alluded to, was Simmons just basically winning at the line of scrimmage and got pressure on Daniel Jones almost immediately. So that's something that they have to shore up, that interior line. We had injuries in the preseason. That's going to hurt us coming down the line because I think we're on our backups at some level. So, but guard play is something that we need to address, and hopefully we can get by this year. The defense played pretty well. Listen, they got marched on right down the field in the first half. Came right down the field, scored a touchdown to open the game. But after that, only gave up 13 points. Tannehill looked sharp on the first drive. Okay, as he went on. There were open receivers, a lot of drops. I think that's a Tennessee problem. A lot of drops, with Hilliard and I think Phillips had a drop too. Hilliard muffed the punt as well. That really gave the Giants the momentum in the second half. But for the most part, I think the Giants did a good job of quote-unquote containing Derrick Henry, limiting him to 82 yards. He got 82 yards, but it wasn't like he really took over the game and posed his will, wore down the defense. I felt like Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams quietly had a really nice game. Tate Crowder, obviously, with a big hit on Derrick Henry, which you don't see Henry off his feet like that very often. Tate Crowder took advantage and really put a big hit on him. But the defense, didn't get as much pressure on the quarterback. That will come with Azeez Ojulari and the first-round pick, Kayvon Thibodeau, coming back. They're working their way. I think they were limited in practice last week. They should be able to get back on the field in a week or two. So the pressure is coming. So that they're going to need that because the secondary left a lot to be desired. Open receivers. Darnay Holmes had a couple penalties on him. I thought Adoree Jackson played pretty well, but in the safeties, Xavier McKinney and company and Jordan Love played well. I think the corners are, like we said, there's not a lot of depth. When we had to let Bradbury go, that really hurt. So we'll see how they hold up. Getting pressure will help them a lot. But on that last drive, 2 holding penalties kept the drive alive and almost, basically cost them the game if it wasn't for that missed kick. So that's something they're going to address, and they need to address. The secondary did as much as they could, but I felt like they needed to do a little bit more. And then, the receiving core quietly didn't have really a monster game. Richie Jones, surprisingly really had Richie, he had 5 catches for 56 yards. Sterling Shepard, 2 catches, but had the long touchdown. He reeled off 71 yards for the game in that touchdown. But, Kenny Galladay, our big pickup, I feel like they're going to wait this out for this season. If they can trade him at the deadline, great. But I think in the offseason, I think he's got to go. And it's nothing personal to him. I just don't think he's a fit. I think you can ride with the guys you had. Now, Wendell Robinson went down with a knee injury. Well, hopefully he's fine. But we'll see how that injury plays out. He might miss a couple of games, but Kadarius Toney, Shepard, Jones, I don't expect Jones to have a consistent game like that, but if you get those guys playing well, Kenny Galladay, only 2 catches for 22 yards. It was like he was non-existent out there, so why tie up a lot of salary cap money to a guy that really isn't contributing as much as you would like him to? So, I think they can quietly move on from him, but I was impressed with what some of the guys did in the especially in the second half. I think Daboll and company made a lot of good adjustments to get the offense some rhythm, get them going. So it's going to be on to week 2. The Giants getting that first victory is huge for them, especially when they usually start the season in an 0-2 or 0-3 hole. And, it's like not even by Halloween when the season is essentially over. They got a 1 o'clock game at home, their home opener hosting Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers looked pretty strong against Cleveland. They didn't come out with the victory. Baker Mayfield did some good things. The last time the Giants saw Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, he carved them up pretty good. So they'll have to contain him. Those 2 wide receivers and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, I expect those guys to really have a good game. And obviously Christian McCaffrey. This offense is pretty good. So the Giants defense is going to have their hands full. But I think the Giants can move the ball on this defense. They did last year. Hopefully it's more of the same. The Giants beat the Panthers last year to get one of their few wins. So it's kind of a different team, but it's more of the same, so we'll see what happens. Thank you for listening to the Finger Foods. Like I said, get to the website, get to the blog, the interviews, SportCityChefs.com. We have a lot of content. Shout out to our sponsors, phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co. A lot of great content. Philadelphia merchandise that you can get from them. Use the code CHEFS to get 15% off your order. Listen, it's nothing but blue skies right now. Giants fans are happy we got a victory. Hopefully more of the same. But like we always say, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's the Chefs again. And if they don't know, now they know.
Sports City, Chefs, Sports City,